Hey everybody, it's Romania Black. We are starting season 2 of Ace of the Diamond. We finally made it, right? It only took us 75 episodes. I've never watched a season of an anime that's been as long as Ace of the Diamond, but it's been so worth it. It's weird. It feels like it's gone by quickly, even though I've spent like months watching this show since like the summer, and now it's almost winter. It feels like we're getting into the fall tournament just as this tournament is starting too, which is kind of a cool feeling that the seasons are sort of matching up. But, so this is episode 4 is where we're starting. The thumbnail is going to be weird for this because the first 3 episodes, I just finished watching the first 3 episodes of this season, and they were just recap. The whole framework, I did like the framework of them trying to write a story and do like a sports review of the whole tournament, and so they used that as a way to recap. It was a cool framing device. It was very clever. While I was watching, I was looking at this guide that Zero Anti-Zero sent me. Thank you. So I was looking at this guide while I was watching. It was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it. So, yeah, it was a good recap. Luckily, the recap ended when they lost against Inashiro, and we didn't have to live through Sawamura's lowest point again. I was glad. I'm like, oh yeah, they don't want to show us episode 69 again because that's just too much drama. So I'm glad they didn't show us that again. It's fresh enough. They just had to show us the games. I'm assuming because we'll probably see some of these teams again. Hopefully Yakushi and Inashiro. I don't know. This season's 51 episodes, so if we face Yakushi or Inashiro again, then it's going to be way down the line, like way at the end of the tournament, right? Because we've got season 2 and season 3. I'm guessing season 2, this is fall nationals, or the fall tournament to determine who goes to spring nationals. So I'm assuming season 2 is going to be about the fall tournament, and then maybe in season 3 we'll, if our boys get to nationals, who knows? But if they do get to nationals, I'm guessing season 3 will probably be about that. And then we'll just go from there. I know the manga is ongoing, so I definitely want to read the manga, but I don't know. It'll probably be next year when I start reading the manga, and I don't know. There's been talks. I looked online just out of curiosity. I'm like, are they making a season 4? And then all these sites were saying, oh, well, in spring of 2022, we'll have season 4. And I'm like, I've heard nothing about it. So I hope they make a season 4 because I'll definitely watch it. But I'm curious. So we shall see. But I got my paper and my pen. So episodes 1 through 3, pretty much a recap, just going over everything that happened in the tournament in the last season. Cutting all the highlights, all that good stuff. And now season 2, we're starting with episode 4. So I think I'm going to keep doing the 3 episodes in a run because I like doing the 3 episodes. It's nice. You avoid a lot of cliffhangers, and I think it'll work out to where I can watch this whole season just doing 3 episode sets. Unless y'all beg me to watch a 4 episode set. I don't know. But we're going to do episodes 4, 5, and 6 like we normally would. We've just skipped the first 3 episodes because they're all recap. So I'm excited. So I hope y'all are too. We're getting into season 2, fall tournament. Our third years are gone. We're starting with a fresh team. Sawamura's got to build himself back from the ground up. Ochiai was really shady at the end of the last season. Kataoka is still the coach. And now the whole team knows that Kataoka is planning to resign after this season. Unless they make it to nationals, and then he has to stay on for spring, right? Right? So that would be awesome if they could make it to nationals and go there. When Kataoka hasn't taken a team there before, that would be really cool. That would be neat. But I'm excited, y'all, to see what all happens. And I was originally not going to watch the OPs and EDs with the first 3 episodes, but then I realized by the time we got to the ED of the second episode, I was like, oh, wait. And the OP and EDs for each one, it went through all the different EDs and OPs of season 1. I thought that was pretty cool. It went through the first 3 OPs, and then it went through the 3 main EDs. I thought that was neat. So I'm excited to see a new OP. I'm excited to see new ED. And I'm excited to see our boys and what we all do at this fall tournament. So let's get started, shall we? We are going to start Ace of the Diamond Season 2, Episode 4. The fall tournament begins. Hell yeah. And we're going to start that here in 3, 2, 1, and let's go. Yes. Oh my gosh. These episodes, let me tell y'all. Oh. Holy cow! What a way to start the season. We're up against a national champion team. We got this arrogant, cocky little pitcher, and there's new characters, and there's Setup and Sawamura and Ochiai and Furuya. We're just throw us into the fire right off the bat, right? Just throw us into the fire. Holy crap. Okay. There's a lot. I took a lot of notes. There's a lot going on in these episodes. We need to talk about it. So Teito and Sato, of course. Taito's interesting. I feel like it's weird because with Inashiro, we kind of had time to build Inashiro up in season 1. Like, we saw Mei earlier on. We got him tied in with Miyuki's backstory. We built Inashiro and all of its characters up over the course of the season. And with Teito, we're kind of just like thrown them. They're like, oh yeah, by the way, here's this team that's won nationals twice. And they've been like multiple times to nationals. They've been in the top 16, top 8, whatever. They're going to be our first opponent. I'm like, crap. Miyuki, and I like how Kuramochi's like, this was the worst draw ever. And Miyuki's like, that's just how I do. Just like to be a troll. Oh my god. So I'll be honest, and y'all will probably comment down in the comment section if you don't watch all the way through, but I really thought that Inui was the coach at first. Because he looks like he's 30. He doesn't look like he's 16 or 17. He looks like he's 30. I thought he was the coach, but he's the catcher. I love Inui. Kingo, I love him. He's amazing. The lightning around him whenever he feels a good pitch. He gets like, it's like when Miyuki's like, I got goosebumps. Like, Kingo has like the lightning flash. That's so freaking cool. I love that. And he's a really good, kind of like Harada is a good balance to Mei. Kengo is a good balance to Taiyo. Taiyo Mukai. What an arrogant little snot. And here's the thing. It's like, Mukai is like a smart brat. Like, Mei is just like an egotistical and super cocky. This kid is a narcissist. Like, and I love he has like he does the tongue thing. It's kind of like a snake. It's really snaky and kind of creepy. But yeah, his idea of being composed under pressure. Yeah, so he's interesting. He's very interesting. He's the polar opposite of Furuya. The polar opposite. Good to note. So we need to talk about Ochiai. And I've got notes all over here. We'll talk about Ochiai in a second. I like that Taiyo, when he's practicing with Inui, he brings up the point that Taiyo is a born and bred boy from Tokyo. He is born and bred from Tokyo. He doesn't know who Furuya and Sawamura are. He doesn't know these first-year boys, but he's a first-year from Tokyo, and he thinks that the national title should stay in Tokyo and not be handed to outsiders. So there's a talk about outsiders in episode 4, and I like that Mukai's like referring to Sawamura and Furuya as the country bumpkin outsiders, and we can't lose to them. This needs to stay in Tokyo, right? And then you have Ochiai, who is the outsider from last season, coming in as the assistant coach. And so, yeah, Ochiai, I feel like he's destined to piss me off in this season. Already, I couldn't believe that he's just trying to work behind Kataoka's back. And here's the thing. He said in the last season, Ochiai made the comment that none of his former players ever invited him back. I'm like, I can't imagine why after episode 4. Because Ochiai, Sawamura was trying to be nice to him. He was asking him to be umpire, to participate. Because here's the thing, Kataoka is very dedicated to his players. He's very dedicated and treats them almost like they're his kids. And he's a mentor to them, and he practices with them and plays with them. Ochiai does not seem to do that. Ochiai seems like the kind of coach that sits from the sidelines and gives the orders and instructs them what to do, but he doesn't participate with them. He doesn't bond with them. He's just like, you're a team, you're my team, here's what you're going to do, you're going to follow my lead and do as I say. And so when Sawamura asks him to be the umpire, Ochiai questions if Sawamura has an ulterior motive. And it's like, no, it's called Sawamura's being nice to you. he's wanting to try to bond with you. And his solution to that is to tell Sawamura to be a practice pitcher. To basically take a step down, quit practicing this pitch that you're going to do. All you're worth is somebody to help them practice. That pissed me off so much, because that's what he's suggesting. He's suggesting Sawamura is not good enough to play in the lineup. He should just demote himself to being like a practice dummy and not even, and the catcher, I don't know his name, the spike-haired catcher, I don't think it's Hariba though, or Kariba, but he was like thrown off. He was like, oh, that's an insult. That's awful. And he's like, you should practice a sidearm because you should just be a practice pitcher and practice the pitches that Taiyo is going to give them so they can practice with. You shouldn't develop your own pitch because you're not good enough for that. That made me so mad. And then when Kataoka, I thought Kataoka was going to yell at him and be like, excuse me, these are my players. They're not your team yet. What are you doing? Like, because I don't think he knows. He doesn't know that Ochiai has talked to Miyuki and Furuya yet. And I'm like, and he made the comment, Ochiai did, that he was going to start talking to the players that he thought were of value. I'm like, well, that's kind of underhanded because I don't like that. I don't like that in any sport, whether it's speech or basketball or whatever. The 1 year I played basketball, I saw that too, where the coach would like talk to the favorites and talk to the one, like give them special orders, but wouldn't talk to the rest of the teammates. That's not cool. I don't like that. And I feel like Ochiai as a coach would just have his little favorite group that he would talk to, and then everybody else he'd kind of just like ditch. And I don't like that at all. Kataoka at least gives everybody a chance, and he makes you prove your worth, but he doesn't dismiss you or treat you inferior. And that was just, I like that Kataoka called him out and was like, told Sawamura to keep pitching like he normally had, like he'd been training to. It was like, Ochiai's trying to undo everything we've worked the last 6 episodes to build up to. I'm like, what are you doing? Oh, man. Nah. And Ochiai criticizes Kataoka that he's more of a mentor than a coach. And I'm like, but being a mentor ties into being a coach. So I try to give Ochiai the benefit of the doubt in this and try to see it from his perspective. Because, and some of you noted this too in the comments, but Ochiai has come into Saito at their worst time. He's come into knowing Sawamura and Furuya from post Inishiro, their loss, when they're all at their lowest points. So he has a very skewed perception of Sawamura and the others, but he's been there long enough that he's starting to see how the team works. And I'm trying to give Ochiai the benefit of the doubt, but this episode, the whole underhanded thing of trying to like go against Kataoka and say like these hurtful things, these players that aren't helping. I'm like, dude. And he starts to get that way towards Furuya at the end, and we'll talk about that, but we'll talk about Furuya. Oh, God. But yeah, so, but yeah, I would argue that the moment of Kataoka where he's mentoring them ties into Okamoto, who is the captain for Teito, and not Inui, but Okamoto. And I like Okamoto a lot as a coach. He's kind of like Todoroki, but more refined and with more wisdom, I guess, about him than Todoroki. But I like that he's all about building a fire and building a passion in his players. He's like, I want them to be passionate and fiery about baseball. And he loves Taiyo because Taiyo has the fire already. He doesn't need extra motivation. He is already set to go. So yeah, but and I like that Kanemaru and Tojo have played against Mukai in the past in junior high, so they know what he's like. And they know that he's crazy. And I love the idea of him explaining that it's like the 9 sections. I like that he explains the 9 sections because I don't know baseball lingo. Unless it's from this series, I know nothing about baseball. So unless I've learned it from Ace of the Diamond, I'm clueless. So the idea of the 9 sections, I like that, and pitching to the 4 corners. But I like that Taiyo takes it from being like a 2-dimensional thing to a 3D module. And that's really cool that the strike zone has depth. That part was so freaking cool. And Inui like being like fired up, like, yes. Like, oh, I love it. I love it so much. It's so great. Yeah, I just love it. And it makes Taiyo a more interesting pitcher as a rival, because on the surface, you would think, oh, well, Taiyo is just like Mei. He's just cocky like Mei, but he's not. I would say that Mei and Furuya are more similar, and Mei and Sawamura are more similar, whereas Taiyo is total opposite of Furuya. Taiyo is not about the power, he's about the finesse and the strategy, whereas Mei, like Furuya, is all about the power, right? The change up, the power, like Mei has more control and more strategy than Furuya, but he's still about that power throw, right? Whereas Taiyo is more about the finesse and the strategy and the psychological angle of it. Like, how am I going to psych out these batters than he is about... I almost feel like Taiyo, because he's a southpaw, he could be what Sawamura becomes. We've compared Sawamura to Sanada, but Taiyo could be what Sawamura becomes too. If Sawamura could get that idea of that angle and that strike zone having depth, then he could... If Sawamura could get back to being able to pitch inside along with the outside, he has like kind of that range and movement that Taiyo does. So that's interesting. But again, Ochiai has that conversation about how Kataoka is a mentor, but he's not a coach. But then he has that moment with Zono where he's teaching him how to hit properly. And it's like, but that him working with Zono as a mentor is going to help Zono so much more in the game than just being a coach. And because Ochiai, that pissed me off too later on when Ochiai dismissed Zono. I was like, just pressing all the wrong buttons right off the bat this season, right off the bat. So Furuya starting the game. I like that Kataoka says, you are your own worst enemy. And if that's not a phrase for Teito, I don't know what is, because Furuya was his own worst enemy in this game. And Sawamura has been his own worst enemy in this series. So, yeah, especially our pitchers, you are your own worst enemy. Yeah, absolutely. And I'm sorry, but the part where Kataoka was giving him that speech, and Miyuki's like, this feels like a final speech. It feels like the final speech that a coach would give. Because here's the thing, if they don't beat this team, they're out of the tournament right off the bat, right? And I love that Miyuki's like, these are not going to be your final words. We are going to take him to nationals. It's everybody on the team. Because back in the last season, before the game with Inashiro, when it was the finals, Kataoka was like, I want to take them to nationals. I want to take my players to nationals. And he failed. But here it's reversed. And they're like, we want to take him to nationals. We want to take Kataoka to nationals. It's like, my heart was like just so elated. I was like, oh my God, I want them to win so badly so that they can do it. But this team is not easy. We're in like the 7th inning now, and it's 1-0. I'm getting such Inashiro vibes, but I'm hoping they turn around and just reverse it from Inashiro. God, I'm hoping that they do that. I hope so bad. So yeah, it took me until episode 5 to realize that Inui is the catcher. Which, he's a great catcher. He is a great catcher too. And so Mukai, Mukai and them, they went to nationals. He went to nationals as a first year, so he has nationals experience. Absolutely. And here's the thing. We get in episode 5 the idea of Mukai being a narcissist and being all about having control over the batter. Because like... May was a crusher of dreams. May was a crusher of spirit. May wanted to crush the batter's spirit and make them despair. Taiyo doesn't want to make them despair. He wants to control them. He wants to be able to protect and make them do what he wants. So it's a little bit different, but it's interesting. And the practice method for Inui, they basically had a do not try this at home ad on there where he was like doing the weights on his hand. Like, that's insane. That would hurt holding the glove with the weight. That would be so much pressure. And they're like, kids, don't try this at home, please. This is for an experienced catcher only. Nah. So yeah, Miyuki being aggressive right off the bat. I liked Miyuki in these episodes because Miyuki was like, no, we are not messing around. Like, Miyuki has a goal. He knows how serious this is. I liked Miyuki in these episodes. He was really good. But here's the thing. Him saying, I don't want Furuya to think. Furuya is such an instinctual pitcher. And I feel like when Furuya just has a goal, like a simple goal, like stay on the mound, do this, keep on the batters. Furuya, we need to talk about Furuya. We need to talk about Furuya. Because I think I have thoughts. But yeah, that moment where he got the double play in episode 5, Miyuki's like, you watch the batters, I'll take care of the runners. I was like, oh, that's so good. That's so good. So we meet Koshu. Koshu is the blonde hair with the green eyes. He's a catcher. He's a catcher. Here's the thing. I've been thinking about this all episode. I've been thinking about this the whole time. He's a catcher. And because he was wondering, the other guy with the do-rag, with the bandana, was like, oh, who do you want to catch for? And he doesn't say anything about Taiyo or Furuya, But he seems very... At first, when Sawamura was practicing in the dugout, like in the rain, I thought Koshi was going to be like, I want to catch for that guy. But he didn't say it. But then after this round at the end of episode 6, I wonder if Koshi was going to be like, I want to catch for him. And I've thought about this the whole time, but it's been established that these are junior high kids. That Koshu and this other kid, they're junior hires because they comment on all their friends. Like the one guy had a girlfriend, the one guy was there watching, and they're like, oh, we're all getting ready to be done playing in junior high, and we're getting ready to decide. And because he said the one friend thought he was going to go to Teito, so it's like, oh, these are all junior high kids that are thinking about going to certain high schools. It is not lost on me as much as I love my Sawamura and my Miyuki, as much as I love my boys, it is not lost on me that Sawamura is a first year and Miyuki is a second year. So eventually, I don't know if the series is going to get to it. I don't know if the anime is going to get to it, but eventually, if the series keeps going on and they keep doing it like they're doing now, eventually Miyuki's going to graduate and be a third year. Like right now, he's still a second year, but eventually, way on down the road, and maybe the manga's gotten to this point, he's gonna be a third year. So, or he's gonna be a third year, and then Sawamura's gonna be a second year, and then there are gonna be new players coming in. So I'm wondering if this Koshu kid with the green eyes is gonna come play for Teito next year, and then him and Sawamura could form a battery so that when Miyuki leaves, there'll be somebody to take his place. Because right now, other than Hariba, there's not really Hariba or Kariba and the spiky-haired guy. There's two catchers. But Kariba has been the one we've been getting the most out of so far. So, and maybe Kariba and the spiky-haired one are the same person. I need to refresh my memory. I need to go back and rewatch the last couple episodes. But we need another catcher. And so I'm wondering if this blonde, green-eyed kid is going to be one of the catchers that joins Teito next year. That'd be pretty cool. We would just keep the generations going, right? That would be interesting. But yeah, so Furuya and Miyuki and Mukai... Furuya and Mukai, total opposites. Furuya is all about power. Mukai is all about the finesse and strategy. Very polar opposites. And then I like that Mukai he recognized Zono when he swung. He's like, you have a scary swing. It's just too bad you can't hit my ball. And then Ochiai, we're at the top of the fifth with Furuya pitching still. I feel like at the fifth inning, Furuya starts to run out of steam. It's the fifth inning that Furuya, he builds it all up, and, the fifth inning, he had a great inning going into it, and then it's just, it all just ran downhill. Ochiai wants Furuya to pitch a whole game. He can't. I don't think he can. I don't think it's possible at this point. But when Ochiai talked badly about Zono, he was like, well, I wouldn't even have him in the third hole spot. I'm like, well, then who else are you going to have, sir? I feel like Ochiai was just bound and determined to make me mad at him this episode, or this set of episodes. And so, yeah, we have the idea that it's raining, that Furuya can't get a good grip on the ball. Furuya being uncomfortable. Here's the thing. Furuya is a secret diva, isn't he? He's a secret diva, right? Sawamura is not really a diva. Sawamura is not a diva. He's just loud. Bless his heart, our sunshine boy is just loud. Sawamura is loud, but he's not a diva. He's not arrogant, and he's not a narcissist, and he's not cocky. Sawamura is just not. He gets ahead of himself sometimes, but he's not cocky. Furuya can be a little egotistical, and Furuya is a diva. He's a secret diva. Mei's a diva. Taiyo's just a narcissist, but Furuya is like a secret diva. He has to be comfortable to pitch well. If he's doing good, if things are in his comfort zone, he's great. He had a great inning at the end of episode 5, he was doing really good. But if he is the slightest uncomfortable, then it all just runs downhill. And it's in the sunlight, in the heat, if it's too hot and he's not comfortable, then it all runs downhill. But if he kept complaining about getting wet and about his undershirt. I'm like, dude, you're in the middle of the game against the national championship team. When you're back in the dugout, you can worry about those things. And I can understand to play advocate for Furuya. I can understand his problem with the resin bag where he's like, I can't get a good grip, because that would be bad if he lost grip on the ball. That could injure somebody. That could lead to something bad happening. So I get why he was worried about the resin and the bag, but it just seemed like for a second he was really, really just getting down because of the weather and the conditions. And he picks himself back up. We had that guy Kajiyama from the team and versus the splitter. And I love Furuya saying that line when Furuya's like, the rain is not the enemy, I am. Like, that was a badass line. I loved that. And Furuya, up until the pause, Furuya got his groove back, he got his fire back, and he was doing wonderful. But then we had the pause. And so during the pause, Furuya was starting to lose steam, and you could see Nori and Sawamura like warming up like they were getting ready to go, right? Ready to step it up. And so I talked about this a little bit in the reaction, but in Haikyuu, there's the idea that during the timeouts, the setter, who's kind of like, the setter's kind of like the pitcher. The setter of volleyball is kind of like the pitcher in baseball. And so the setter has to maintain their focus. And so I'm a huge Oikawa fan, as you can tell. I'm a huge Oikawa fan. And Oikawa in Haikyuu, his whole thing was that he always was like laser focused. Like, he didn't pay attention to the coach, he didn't pay attention to the team. He was laser focused, staying in the game so he didn't get psyched out, right? And that was really, really cool. And I feel like Taiyo stayed focused. He was like, kept the fire going, kept the fire stoked, and was like thinking of what to do next. Furuya, once he started to like pause and think about his shirt and get frustrated with that, and then like get like wind down, it just like all the fire and energy left him, and it was like, and that wasn't good, right? So we start episode 6, where we're at the 6th inning, and Mukai has pitched 62 times in 6 innings. It's quite a lot of pitches, and he doesn't seem like he's that distracted. And we find out Koshu's a middle schooler, and that leads me to believe that maybe he's going to try to join Teito. That'd be cool if he did, but he might not. He might join Teito. He might join Yakushi. He might join somewhere else. I don't know. We don't know. Well, Yakushi doesn't have a crazy catcher anymore. Their catcher was a 3rd year, weren't they? So maybe he'll join Yakushi. I don't know. It just seemed like he was waiting for the right pitch, and it's like Sawamura came in at the last second, and it's like, oh, was that the pitch you were waiting for? Are you kind of like Miyuki? I don't know. But Miyuki getting the double, that was awesome. I loved that play. And then Furuya just out of nowhere just dissolved. Like, he missed the sign, and you could tell Kataoka was pissed. He's like, you missed the sign I gave you. It was simple. And everybody was kind of like, what's your deal, dude? And I love that the coach Okamoto, he's like, we're tigers today. We're tigers. We're going to chomp. I love that. I love that Taiyo's like, oh, we're tigers today, huh? Like, every game is a different animal. I love that. Computer got a little, there we go. But yeah. So Kanemaru with Sawamura. I like seeing Kanemaru hanging out with Sawamura. I like the friendship that they're building, especially because at the beginning of the last season, way back at the start of the season, Kanemaru was like, you'll never amount to anything, Sawamura, the ace, psh. And then by this episode, starting season 2, Kanemaru is like practicing with him, and I love it. So yeah, the only one, what did I put on there? Yeah, only one run. They got one run in that moment, and Furuya lost his fire. The spiral of doom that Miyuki calls it, where you're too tense, so the ball doesn't do what you want it to, and it just you get so tense because you're trying to psych yourself up, and it just spirals everything down. And he says it's spiral doom. Taiyo says that Furuya is showing his true colors, which I don't know about that. That's a good question, because I feel like Furuya is naturally a good pitcher, and his true colors are, when he's good, but when he's not, he's not. And we're going to talk about that. So I like they establish that Kataoka makes harsh decisions. He does. He makes very, very calculated, risky moves. He's bold. Kataoka is bold, if anything. And it's proven in point by putting Sawamura in there. Like, Kataoka, I thought they were going to put Nori in. I really did. And when they started to pan up, I'm like, are we really putting Sawamura in right now? But here's the thing. 1, Sawamura gets to take the mound from Furuya, which is going to fire Sawamura up, of course. 2, Sawamura practiced throughout all the rain so he can handle the conditions. The conditions aren't going to slow him down like they are Furuya. But 3, Sawamura has shown they needed to let Sawamura in to do this, at least for an inning, to prove that he's gotten over his funk. And thank God it looks like maybe he has. But that was a harsh decision. But here's the thing that's really cool, that Okamoto recognized Sawamura. He remembered him from the qualifiers. He remembered him as the kid that had the crazy inside pitches. So it's great because it's going to throw Teito off, because they're expecting Sawamura to pitch one way, and he's been practicing the last 12 episodes to pitch this new way. So it's great. I love it. And I love that they established the importance of a relief pitcher, because at the end of last season, when Kataoka told Sawamura he was a relief pitcher, Sawamura took that as like an insult, like the worst thing he could be, because he wasn't the ace. But here, being the relief pitcher is so important that I hope after this game, whether they win or hopefully they have to win, right? Whether they win or lose, I hope that Kawakami and Sawamura have a moment where Sawamura is like, I see why you like being the closer, because going after another pitcher, like you get to go in and like close the game and build that momentum back up. I really want him to have a conversation with Nori about it. But yeah, so Koshu doesn't have that much faith in Furuya at this point. It's the key is the relief pitcher. So yeah, he wants to catch Sawamura. So that makes me think like, okay, you're going to be a first year next year. Will you go to Teito next year since Miyuki will be a third year? That could be interesting. And he seems like he has a calm, cool demeanor like Miyuki. So if he went to Teito, that'd be interesting to see. Maybe Miyuki could become a mentor to him. That would be pretty cool. I don't know, y'all. I ran out of space on my notes, so I started writing smaller. But the idea that Sawamura has guts. And that smile that he does now, like it was played up for laughs in the practice because he was like, I'm relaxed. But that smile under the hat in the rain, it kind of looks creepy. And it kind of looks like Taiyo when Taiyo's like, it kind of looks like that. So again, I'm seeing more connection of Furuya and Mei, and maybe some connection between Sawamura and Taiyo, but their personalities are totally different, just like Furuya and Mei's personalities are totally different. But then there's interconnecting things between all of them, right? Because that's how this show does. But my big point here is that Furuya at the moment is the better, more consistent pitcher. I wouldn't argue anybody that. When Furuya's good, he's good. And up until the pause, he was doing great even in the rain. So he's a consistent, good pitcher. But I don't think that Furuya has the spirit of an ace, because Furuya isn't... They talked at the very end, like Haruichi was like, man, Eijun's so reliable right now. But he's kind of crazy, but he's still reliable. That whole atmosphere at the end of episode 6, I was like, that's Sawamura's attitude. And Sawamura could be the ace, I think, because of his spirit. Not because of his pitching ability, even though it's good, but because of his spirit and the soul of the team. Like, he's reliable and a little bit crazy and bold, but still reliable. I feel like this game may make the players question Furuya, being like, are you as reliable as you need to be? Because it's like, it seems like one little thing throws Furuya off. And once Furuya is thrown off, it's over. It's like, there's no recovering. Once Furuya is off his game, it is off. And I don't know if an ace, like Koshu says in the episode, he's like, he's not an indisputable ace. But I don't know. Sawamura always seems like he has the soul of the team. So, and I want to root for Sawamura. I don't hate Furuya. I can't be mad at Furuya. I felt bad for Furuya when he was starting to lose focus because he was trying to get it back and it just wasn't working. It just wasn't happening for him. And so I felt bad, but I do root for Sawamura. I do. I'm a little biased. But how could you not? How could you not? Especially after the last 12 episodes. How could you not root for Sawamura? So even Ochiai makes the comment, I don't think I wrote it down, but even Ochiai makes the comment that Furuya needs the experience, but this inconsistency isn't a good thing. Yeah, no kidding. No kidding, Sherlock. So, man, I really liked these episodes, and I'm so glad we got to see Sawamura pitch in this, and I feel like if Sawamura can just keep it up, like that attitude that Sawamura has is the attitude of an ace, and I'm like, I just want to see it come to fruition. But yeah, but Ochiai giving me bad vibes. Taiyo being crazy. Inui being maybe my new favorite opponent character. Nah, he's up there though. And then seeing Furuya and this weird spiral and Saomer like rising up like the sunshine boy that he is, I'm like, And Kataoka with his hand on Saomer's shoulder, explaining the situation. Kataoka sees so much of himself in Saomer. I just know it. And I love that moment. It was so good. So, yeah. I'm curious to know what you all thought of this episode. What your guys' reactions were. Your thoughts about these episodes. This was a great start to season 2. It's like we just got thrown right back in the mix. It's like, here we are. Let's do this. Season 2's not messing around. And we're already 6 episodes in. You know, like you do. So yeah, I'm super curious to know your thoughts down below. What you all thought. I hope you all enjoyed the reaction. What you all thought of these episodes. But yeah, lots of stuff to talk about. Lots of stuff to get ready. I'm going to go back and look at this guidebook a little bit more. But in the meantime, I hope you all have a wonderful week. Please stay safe. Take care. And yeah, I'll be back soon with more Ace of the Diamond. Bye.